As more companies realize the effectiveness of ITIL management, the need for ITIL professionals is growing in many industries. ITIL Foundation will help you understand how ITIL evolved to adopt modern technologies and operational processes. But what exactly is ITIL? Why ITIL is so successful? What is the exam format for ITIL Foundation? This webinar precisely answers these questions. Hey guys, I am from Invensis Learning. I welcome you all to this session on Introduction to ITIL Foundation. This is recording of a webinar held by Invensis Learning on the topic, Introduction to ITIL Foundation. Let's quickly take a look at the topics that were discussed in the webinar. In this session, first you will understand the ITIL Foundation exam format. Secondly, you will be introduced to ITIL Foundation, where you will get to know what is ITIL and why is it successful. Post that you will learn the key benefits of adopting ITIL. And then you will understand the concept of service management as a practice and the types of services. Moving on, we will try to understand what is an IT service and who are the service providers. Post that, you will get to know about stakeholders in service management. As the service provider requires some people, some resources, some processes, some tools, and so on, we will understand the service assets, resources, and capabilities. Post that we will understand processes, which are a set of steps that deliver some results. As we have a lot of things associated, we will understand the process model. And then we will see what are the roles in service management. Post that we will have a look at our ACI model, which stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. And then we will see what are the functions in service management. Moving on, we will see what is risk management. Post that, we will get introduced to the service life cycle and its stages. I hope the agenda is clear to you guys. Sounds interesting? Invensis Learning is a pioneer in providing globally recognized certification training courses for individuals and enterprises worldwide. We have trained and certified 50,000 plus professionals globally. At Invensis Learning, we offer webinars on many other interesting topics from different domains such as project management, agile methodology, DevOps, IT service management, and others. To view such interesting content, subscribe to Invensis Learning YouTube channel.
Initially, actually, ITIL was owned by the, not even by the British government, it was all the telecommunications companies in Europe. They formed an agency and started documenting their best practices. So eventually the British government took over and they combined all the documentation into a set of best practices. So I've got 40 questions. It's a 1 hour session, 60 minutes, 1 hour, 40 questions. So you've got a little over more than a minute per question. It's relatively easy. You will find usually people score anywhere between how much, 28 to 35 in the exam. Some people score even 37, 38 or so. If I wrote the exam today, I might be able to score 38, 39, maybe 1 or 2 marks I might miss because there are so many things there, but that's a different thing. I might even score 40, but usually people definitely score a minimum of 26. So that's the passing mark, 26 out of 40, which is relatively easy unless we are not so good, not understood well. Okay. It's a supervised exam. Yes, it's not an open book, right? Some of the exams, the higher levels for other topics like project management are open book exams. Okay, so that's a quick thing about it. Okay. These are the various levels, and ITIL Foundation, this is where we add. There is a system of credits. So 2 credits you will obtain when you do this. And afterwards, this is a new one which has been introduced just a couple of years ago, ITIL Practitioner. It was not there with 3 credits. And but earlier and even today, we have this intermediate certifications in the middle. These are the intermediate ones. Some people will do just 1 box. Basically, these boxes are service strategy, design, transition, operation, service improvement. So some people prefer to do all these 5 of them, or some people like to do the right sides, these ones, OSA, PPO. I'm going to explain that, RCV, SOA. But it is advised to pick up maybe couple from 2 from this side and 3 from this side, or vice versa. Have a good mix of that. Left side is known as intermediate lifecycle modules. Right ones are known as intermediate capability modules. This is capability, this is life cycle. The meaning is life cycle means we start from strategy, go into design, then transition, then operation, and then continual improvement. Whereas capability means it covers everything. This is more like a pickle, everything in mixed, and it tells you practical. This is more practical advice on the right side. But it covers everything which you will do here also. So therefore people like to pick, if they do design here, then they may not pick something which is related to design on the right side. But we need to have 15, we need to get 15 credits from this middle row, or these two combined. So 15 plus 2 we will get 17, and plus these 5 credits for managing across the life cycle. There is a special module. If you do this 5 more, then you become ITIL expert. So 2, then 15, and 5, 22. So once you have 22 credits, you become ITIL expert. And now one more thing is these credits what you see here. These have 4 each, these have 3 each. So to get 15, if you remember, we talked about 15 in this middle one. So some people, what they do, 3 and 3, 6, and then 9, and not this one, and then 13, right? And then 4, 17. So they get 17, which is okay. If they are smart, they may want to do 3 multiplied by 5, which is just 15. So minimum is 15. Yeah, so that's a basic thing here. Most of the time companies offer the life cycle courses. Not all companies offer capability, but you can request that, but Invensis definitely offers that. So this one is, for example, operational support and analysis. This is more about operations. This is planning, protection, and optimization. This is more about operation and design and security. Release, control, and validation. This is more release and change management and testing and all that. And this is service offerings and agreements. This is more for contracts and SLAs and service level agreements. So they split it very well. Master is more based on an interview by the panel and all that, and you have to show a real life project experience and all that. So that's how the story goes.
Thanks.
Okay. Now all the exams are offered by PeopleCert. Earlier there were many bodies. They are known as exam institutes. PeopleCert, APMG, Exin. You might have heard about some of them. TUV, SUD, and so forth. But now only PeopleCert is authorized to conduct exams for all Axelos certifications. Yeah? Okay. So I'm not going to read the bullets, but we're going to understand the concept of service management and the concept of life cycle, service life cycle. General concepts, definitions, terms, and some principles and models. Some words like models will come: incident model, change model, problem model, configuration model. As we go through the course, we will learn all that. Processes, different processes. There are several processes, as you noticed earlier: strategy processes, design processes, transition, operation, and improvement. Functions, there is a difference between function and process, so we will see that later. Roles, there are roles like service manager, service process practitioner, process manager, process owner. These roles are there. Change authority, we'll see that later on. Little bit about automation we will understand. So introduction, we're going to understand V1, V2, V3. We will focus on V3, particularly 20 level version. And all these life cycle processes. These 5, by the way, these are not processes. These are known as life cycle phases or stages. So there are 5 life cycle phases. This is the number 1. This is 2, 3, 4, and 5. As you can expect, continual service improvement, because of this word continual, it is not in sequence here, but it happens throughout. This last one happens throughout. This one happens in the beginning, strategy, then design happens, then transition happens, then operation. But one thing, and continual happens all the time. But one more thing, while operation is going on, day-to-day operations, the daily grind, strategy can also change, design can also change. So it's not that we never do this once it is done. right? So everything is triggered now and then. Okay, I just want you to think now. I'll ask you a question. Do you recollect any, let's say, an issue or some kind of an outage in your company in the last, say, 1 year? Something you recollect, oh, this should not have happened. It caused us a lot of headache. The systems went down and we could not work. Right? This does happens in the company now and then, but usually small issues. Sometimes major issues also happen because of which people cannot work. So do you recollect anything either from your company or from externally?
We didn't have a major issue over the last year period, but we did have several minor cases where for about a couple of hours we had a blackout on certain areas, especially with the Sri Lankan internet connections. We do get issues. Even today morning there was an internet connection issue from our service provider. So I was trying to log into our shared drives and couldn't log in. So those kind of external or even internal cases we have.
Yes, that's a good feedback. Thank you. So the point there is, it is in spite of all the best practices and good effort of the people, good management, issues do occur, and this is why ITIL comes handy. Even when people use ITIL, still we do have the same kind of issues, but less. They've become more limited. In fact, I recollected British Airways major incident this year. During the middle of the year, the entire British Airways IT systems were down. The website was down, the call center was down worldwide. People could not get any messages that their website and call center was down.
I remember this.
Right? So that's what. Yeah, so I will not go into the detail there. So we don't know actually what happened, maybe power system and all they were saying, but there is a way to improve all that. So ITIL, IT infrastructure library, information technology infrastructure library, it's more from an infrastructure perspective for IT. It's actually a best practice. It is not a standard or a regulation, but it builds from the standards. There is a difference between standard, regulation, and best practice. Best practice is something which is taken from our own experiences, from other companies, from through trainings and all those things. Whereas standard is like a benchmark. For example, ISO is a standard. If a company becomes ISO certified, they have reached a benchmark. But a company cannot become ITIL certified. Only individuals can become ITIL certified. So it's a benchmark for individuals. If a company wants to be ITIL certified, meet the standard, then they need to go to ITSM certification. There's something known as ITSM 20,000, ISO 20,000 certification, which is similar to ITIL, yeah, but it comes from ISO. Regulation, on the other hand, is controlled by a certain body, right? So for example, banking regulation and all that. So the whole ITIL, I will tell you 2 or 3 keywords. If you remember those 2 or 3 keywords, then ITIL is almost half done. Aligning to the customer, delivering value to the customer, delivering results or outcomes for the customer. These are the main things about ITIL. It is not about we as IT, we as functional departments, what do we do, but what the customer wants. So this whole ITIL actually helps us to face the customer rather than facing our own internal IT departments and internal departments. Therefore, you see, business or customer comes first. The customer can be internal also. You may be providing an IT service to the marketing department or HR department. So they are also a customer, but they become internal customer. So ITIL is highly customer focused. Yeah? So, and it relies on certain information and databases. I need not worry about this too much right now. Now also comes to some things, for the exam, there are a lot of concepts. We need to remember certain concepts and understand them, because the exam asks a lot of things like that. It's a very concept-based exam, not a practical-based exam, though it helps in practice also. There are little practical elements also which come in the exam, but it is not a case study-based exam at all. So ITIL has got these 3 reasons to be successful. It is vendor neutral, meaning it doesn't rely on technology. It doesn't rely on specific service providers. If you are a customer and you use the latest cloud technology, or if you use old technology, it will work for you as long as you follow the ITIL processes. That's known as vendor neutral. It is non-prescriptive, meaning it is not like a doctor. You say, no, you have a cold and they give you one medicine. You have a fever, you get another medicine. No, ITIL is one first aid box. Everything is there in that box. Whichever you want, you pick it up. So it's not a different treatment for different IT issues. Mix of best practices, non-prescriptive. The third is it is a best practice, as I told you, not a standard or a regulation, through learning and experience of people. So, in the exam you could get a question like, ITIL's two of the characteristics of why ITIL is successful is it's vendor neutral and it is non-prescriptive. Which is the third one? Right? So, best practices. Okay. A lot of benefits of ITIL. I'm not going to read it. I'm sure you will understand the benefits, right? There's more of you can also say a little bit of marketing about ITIL here, but it's definitely useful. The risk management happens in ITIL, monitoring of services, providing value, adopting the right practices, good connection with the customers, good coordination within the internal teams, proper design, consistent frameworks, all that. There are a lot of standards which can also be used apart from ITIL, like COBIT, control objectives for IT. Control objectives of IT is also a very good thing. If you are interested, you can do that. While ITIL says how to do it, COBIT focuses on what to do. What is good for the customer, what is good for IT, but ITIL is how should we do it step by step. So that's the difference. So COBIT is a little more maybe leadership oriented, I can say, but it's my personal opinion. I don't want to misrepresent these standards or best practices.
Okay.
Nice picture, circular picture. You see the strategies in the center here. Strategies in the center. Once the strategy is done, then it moves into design. After design, it moves to transition. Yes, transition. That's why you see the arrows here. Operation, and then continual service improvement is there throughout. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, in this slide you need to focus more on this part. You don't have to worry too much about these other ones. It basically says where do we get the best practices from? What are the sources, right? Training. This training, for example, is a source of best practice for you. Internal experience within the company, also sources. We can learn lessons and reuse them. From other companies, these are known as industry practice. Standards, you can take an ISO standard or some other standard and adopt it. That's also a source of best practice. So ITIL is actually taken from various areas and domains and put it together. Yes, these are the various ones. And one more thing, you can also add one more here, which is research, academic research. For example, some big universities may be doing research in ITIL. When I used to work with IBM, I worked with IBM for many years. They had a research lab. So the research lab people would come to people like me because we are into operations and delivery. They will say, hey, Murali, are you facing any issues? How do you think we can improve your processes? Because research people think more process type, right? Design. So academic research is also one more area of best practice. Source. Enablers, people and companies are enabling the ITIL framework. There are a lot of drivers for it. Customers and regulators drive the overall ITIL and the service management. There are various scenarios where we need to mix and match the ITIL with other standards, etc. Okay. Types of services. This is the first basic, second basic concept rather. We finished off the sources of best practices. We finished off the why ITIL was successful. Now comes this one. Two types of services, internal and external. Let's say I'm the IT department within my company. If I deliver a service to a department, let's say marketing, it's an internal service. Okay. If I'm delivering to an external outside the company, it's an external service. Now you will also hear later on something known as internal customer and external customer, which is easy. Within the company, internal customer. Outside the company, external customer. Yeah. But internal service and external service is also coming up. So let me make some notes here. I'm going to use a simple text document. The meaning here is external service generates revenue. Internal service does not generate revenue. Whereas so you could have an internal customer, right? A marketing department I am servicing within the company, but my service does not generate revenue for the marketing department. Then it is an internal service also. But if my service generates revenue for the marketing department, then it also becomes an external service, though it is within the company. So it can be a little confusing for people, right? Though it says delivered to external customers, but ITIL, if you go to a more advanced level, it clarifies a little bit more. But right now, just understand this in a simple way only. Internal customers, internal services, external services all mean similar. Okay. So I'll put the word usually. Therefore, better to say internal client facing service or external client facing service. Don't worry too much on this for the exam. For the exam, just remember this, what you see on the slide. Okay. So, okay. What's a service? What's a service? So we go to a restaurant and want to eat something, they give us a service. We go to a hospital, they give us a service. So these are all services, and therefore services should be managed by the organization. That is known as service management. When it comes to IT, it is particularly known as IT service management. Yeah, so that's what it is. So the services actually deliver outcomes for the customer. So I'm going to write down something here. IT service management it requires three things: people, process, and technology. Three things are required to deliver IT service management. Okay, the next thing is types of services. Though we have seen internal and external service from a customer perspective, you will see now types of services. Let's say a bank is in your area, let's say you're doing your ERP and all that function. Whatever the service you are delivering for which somebody is paying money, whether it's an internal customer or external, whoever is paying money for that, internally the money payment happen in a different way. It's more like a charge, a department charge transfer or something. So that is known as a core service. The services for which the customer pays money is a core service. So maintaining a web application, for example, can be a core service. Whereas enabling services are the core services depend on the enabling services. For example, underneath we have Windows Active Directory, LDAP, and maybe network management, protection, firewall protection, which the customer is not concerned about. So those are the services which enable the core services. Right? This is more the IT department has to bother about, the customer will not bother about it. But if you remove them, then the core services will stop. Enhancing is more popular in the industry nowadays, and since many years actually, because it provides delight to the customer. When there is competition, one vendor will say, hey, I can give you additional for no charge. I can give you reports, I can provide you 24 hours of I can give you 3 months free warranty and so on, like that. So those are known as enhancing services, but we need to be careful because customer, what happens initially, we will start delivering some enhancing services to customer, and after sometimes customer takes it for granted, and they are not paying money for that because money is being paid only for the core services, right? So what happens that enhancing services should not be too much workload. If it becomes too much workload, then core services quality will drop. So we need to be cautious about those things. And customer might start expecting the enhancing services as default. Then we need to remind the customer, no, if you want them with full guarantee, then please pay us money for this also. And then we transfer this to the core services. Yeah. So that's the meaning of enhancing. So for example, overdraft account, But eventually if a person is always taking overdraft, withdrawing extra money, then it is no longer allowed. Now comes types of service providers. There is a concept of customer and a service provider. There is a line between the two. The service provider is sitting above here, the customer is sitting outside this line on here, and service provider is here actually. Right? But we will see different situations. The most, let me see how to explain this to you. Internal, yeah, you see this one, external service provider. This is the company, this whole box is the company here. And the company is relying on an external service provider. For example, let's say I worked in company ABC and I am expecting service from company XYZ. So XYZ is my external service provider. But if the service provider is sitting within the company here, they are known as internal service provider. Right? Internal. Even within the company, they are known as shared services unit. So there are three types: external service provider, internal service provider, and a shared services unit. The internal is known as type 1. Okay. Shared services is known as type 2, Roman letters. This one is known as external type 3. So remember these three for the exam. Internal, special meaning. It is a dedicated, you see this internal service provider is dedicated to business unit 2 within the company. Service provider A, internal, dedicated to business unit 1 within the company. Shared services is not dedicated, it is for more than one business unit in the company. Okay, so that's what it is. So these two types, internal service provider and shared service provider, yes.
Sorry, the internal provider is service level 1, right?
Yes, I'm going to write it down. I was going to write that again. So this is type 1. Okay. And I'm going to write it down in my notes anyway. Type 1. And if you notice, they are connected to only one internal customer, dedicated.
Yeah.
These two are separate. The second one is also dedicated to only to this business unit within the company. So there are two internal service providers dedicated. Shared services,
yeah,
when we
yes, type 1.
Yes, type 1. This is also type 1. Okay. And so these are sometimes known as embedded also. Embedded service provider. I'm going to write that down. Dedicated embedded. Whereas this is type 2, which is servicing more than one department in the company. So 2 departments or 3 or 4 departments. The moment a service provider is servicing an external company, you see this line coming from outside, they are known as an external service provider. Okay. So,
it is type 3.
Type 3, yes. Type 3. I'm just going to jot that down. I usually do that. Embedded, yeah. Type 2. External. I put services provider because there may be multiple departments. That's why the S plural comes there. Okay. You know, by the way, all these concepts, it takes us about an hour. These help us to understand how we are positioned as an IT delivery team for the customer. Once we understand that foundation, then we can go into each of those processes. Yeah. Concept, yes. Concept of stakeholder, you know, many people have different meanings of stakeholder. Some people think it's a customer or a sponsor or a team lead or a senior manager. But stakeholder is anyone who has a concern in the operation or in the service. Yeah. So it can be a customer, it can be business partners, resellers, training providers, configuration experts, subject matter experts, anybody, project managers, program managers, whoever is involved in the service. Yeah, so therefore, these are some of the key stakeholders. Supplier is something we are going to focus on quite a lot. Suppliers are third-party suppliers, usually for the hardware, right? The suppliers of hardware and maybe even software. And the users are the people who are using the system. It can be the IT people also, because let's say I'm an IT person. I'm also servicing a customer, but I myself may be using the system, accessing it to give some services to the customer. So users can be from IT or from the customer side. Customer users are of course more important. And customer is one who is paying the money. That's the main thing. You see, who buys the goods and services. So that's the ITIL definition for a customer. Watch out in the exam, you can get a question. Which of the below is a customer? It will say an individual who is paying for the services, an individual who is demanding services. So you need to select individual who is paying for the services, or a group or a department or an organization who is paying for the services. Just want to thinking what should I write down. Supplier.
So one question will be for the customer, even if the person is not paying but demanding the service, like the internal customers are not paying, they are part of the same organization. So do they really not considered as the customer?
See, in your situation, yes, they will be considered as a customer. But in the exam, if you get a question like that, you need to pick the best option. That's
okay.
yeah.
But if I see like there are a lot of questions coming with multiple selection, like A and B or A, B, C,
yes,
all above.
Yes.
So in that case, should I pick internal customer as well?
You should
or
pick
it is
internal.
always the external?
No, you should pick internal customer as well. But the proper definition of customer is one who pays for the money. So if you have two options, one who pays for the money and another one who is demanding the services, you should pick only one who pays the money. But if you have a statement, yes, if you have an option like it's an internal customer, then you can select that.
Got it. Thanks.
Yes. And suppliers are always external. We never have internal. Usually it's for hardware. So it's a chain, you have a customer and then you have an IT service provider. And then we have supplier. One or more
suppliers can be sometimes the application providers as well, right?
Also,
they may not provide the hardware.
Yes,
but
yes,
like
yes.
for us, they provide the application, so they are a supplier for the application.
Yes, that's true. Sometimes, yes, applications, yes. Now in today's world, what happens? Customer calls the IT service provider as a supplier. Yeah, that also happens. Yeah. So you are a company and MHS, and you have depending on another company for delivering the services to you, you will call them a supplier or a vendor, a third party. But in the ITIL world, you need to differentiate that the supplier is somebody who is actually providing services to the IT service provider, because of which service provider is providing services to the customer. So this is what you need to know.
Thanks.
Yes, it's very important for the exam because there are different documentations and agreements between these two. We will see that later. For example, between the customer and ITSP, there is a SLA, service level agreement. Between the IT service provider and supplier, there is a UC, underpinning contract, not just contract but underpinning contract, because underpinning means foundation. The supplier is the foundation for the service provider for some of the aspects. Some of the things may be done by the supplier and delivered to the service provider. Remaining things may be done fully by the service provider, but together it goes to the customer. Right? So that's an SLA. So SLA is there between these two parties, customer and IT service provider. Service level agreement, and between service provider and supplier there will be an underpinning contract. But sometimes these words are used loosely in the industry, which is okay. But for exam, you should remember this one. And last thing, so that you get full clarity on this, between customer and IT service provider, there is also contract. Yes, there is always a contract, but not called UC. UC is different. Yeah? This will include the SLA. Contract includes the SLA. you see, which can also some sort of SLA will be there. You would have heard about SLA, right? I'm assuming it little bit you know about SLA.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, we'll get into more detail on SLA afterwards anyway today afternoon, which can also, but these two statements are most important. These three statements. Okay. Okay. Coming back to this.
You are sharing these notes with me, right?
I'm going to share this with you. Yes, not to worry.
Okay, great.
I'm going to save it in a little while in the break time. To deliver services, the service provider, now you understand, right? There is a customer, there is a service provider, and there are one or more suppliers. Now the service
Yes.
provider requires some people, some resources, some processes, some tools, all those things, money, information, infrastructure, building, land, whatever. So these are known as service assets. Service assets are owned by the service provider. So there are two types of service assets. One of them is known as capabilities, the other is known as resources. Resources are physical things, as you can see, people, money, infrastructure, software applications, information. These are physically seen. Though I know information cannot be seen, it is in the database, but this is all physical stuff. Capabilities are not exactly physical, it is more like a management and leadership, organization structure, team structures, processes and knowledge, people. Though you know these processes and knowledge can be stored as physical entities, but then these are more capabilities. If you notice, people is common to both, right? Because they have some intelligence and skills and competencies in their brains, so it's common to both. So capabilities and resource make up the service assets. It's known as service assets, not just assets for the service provider. Customer no, rather I should rephrase this. Customer resources and capabilities are known as customer assets. So we have got service assets on one hand and customer assets on the other hand. Both of them have resources and capabilities. So both service assets of the IT service provider and customer assets are required to achieve business outcomes. Finally, everything is about business outcomes. A business outcome could be, we want to be more competitive in the market. We want to be number one provider of medical services in this city or in this country. Those are some of the business outcomes. So to do that, both customer and IT service provider are responsible, but the ownership is with the customer, by the way, remember. Ownership of the business outcomes is with the customer. Ownership of the services for IT is with the service provider. Therefore, because let's say you take a bank, I am the service provider, so I will have my own people and skills and all that, resource and capabilities. You are the bank or the medical center. You are the customer. You need to have your own people. You need to have your own bank branches. You need to have your own portfolio advisors, wealth advisors, and all that. So those are your assets. So unless we combine both, your company, the bank, cannot deliver outcomes for your business. And that outcome is owned by you as the bank. So that's what it is. But I as a service provider definitely responsible to give everything I can from an IT service perspective, using which you will deliver outcomes for your company. So I am actually plugging in to deliver outcomes for you, but you are ultimately accountable for the outcomes of the business as the customer. Processes are, I think all of us know about processes. Basically, they are a set of steps which deliver some results. So there are a few characteristics of processes. You don't have to know about this one much. This is known as SIPOC, SIPOC or SIPOC. This is more coming in project management and all. In ITIL, it is not required. If you want, if you're interested more, you can Google this SIPOC and read it. It's a very nice way of looking at the entire process end to end from supplier who uses certain inputs to do some processes and steps, delivers outputs to the customers. Yeah? But we are not going to study this thing, but it clarifies the meaning of a process. talking about processes, we have a lot of things associated. A process owner, we have a process owner, a policy, objectives, feedback system on the efficiency, documentation. These are known as control parameters. Inputs are here, outputs are here. For example, let's say incident management process will have certain inputs. Where did the incident occur? Who reported it? What actually happened? What are the symptoms? The output of the incident management will be the incident should be resolved. But to do that, it will use a lot of things from the middle part. Yeah? So that's so the process means the steps or activities, certain metrics, the roles, improvements from time to time, work instructions, more detailed, and some procedures. Right? Procedures become detailed work instructions. Policies are converted into some the procedures, right? Objectives are converted to policies and so on. So a lot of linkages there. You don't have to remember this diagram. Just gives you an idea. Resources to do process, we need people and tools. These are the enablers. We also need some skills and competencies. These are also enablers. Some reporting can be done as well. There are trigger. So if you see, trigger is also there. For example, if I'm the customer, I'm calling the service desk or help desk and say, hey, can you help me with my issue? So I am triggering the process of whatever you call it. Service request process or request fulfillment process, access management process, incident management process, and so on. So let's understand the 4 characteristics of processes. Let me just move on. Yeah, I need to write this down for you. One, it should be for a customer. A process should eventually deliver something to a customer. It should not be just for internal purpose. It's a waste. In the office usually we have some internal processes, but somewhere it should link to the customer, the outcome, align to the customer, provide value. So that's what it is. It should it has a trigger. We saw that earlier. Should deliver results or outcomes for the customer, of course, and it should be measurable. Yeah. So these are the 4 characteristics. For a customer, it should have a trigger, it should deliver results, and it should be measurable. These are the 4 characteristics of processes. Okay. Yes. So we're going to study several processes eventually. I have not told you much about value. We'll come to the value concept in more detail, but just a quick thing here. Let's say you go to a restaurant and order food, right? And you pay money after that. Then there is some kind of a value coming up. This food was good, so I got value for my money. So value is mostly connected with money, but there are a few more things connected with, and value is therefore decided by the customer, right? I as a customer decide the value for what I am paying for. So therefore, IT service provider does not decide the value. It is the customer who decides the value. A lot of roles in IT management, service management. As you see here, there are 4 important roles: a process owner, process manager, process practitioner, and service owner. Let's understand this in a little more detail. Process owners create, they own the process. For example, incident management process. This person is supposed to own that process and create the design and documentation for it. This person also checks the compliance to the process. They may do periodic audits of the process. They may ask these other 3 to show evidences, right? Evidence, hey, show me you have followed the process, and they will do it. They will also do the improvements to the process. So process owner owns the design, the document, the compliance, ensuring the compliance, and also ensuring the improvement from time to time. Of course, for improvement, anybody can give feedback, but ownership of improvement of process is with the process owner. Therefore, there is always one process owner for each process. There cannot be multiple owners. But in every process you can have several process managers, you can have several practitioners, you can have several service owners also. Service owner is a totally different concept. ensures compliance to process. Yeah. Okay. Process manager, on the other hand, so design meaning how many resources are, like 5 people are required to do this process. So such and such training will be required. Design like resource count, training needs, etc. Yeah. Steps, etc. Activities, etc. Process manage assigns resources, systems as per design. Yes, and ensures process only execution, not it is compliant, but only execution of the process, and that's it. Leads the process practitioners. What is a process practitioner? I'm writing down all this because in the exam you do get questions on this. Performs the process, executes the process, retains evidence of, okay, these are the two things, retains evidence of the execution. So in the exam, if you get a question, who provides evidence for process compliance? It's a process practitioner. Who ensures compliance? Process owner. Who ensures the resources are assigned and systems are assigned as per the design, and who ensures the training? It is process manager. Yes. Okay, so much we have learned already. So roles are also done. Service owner, sorry, I missed out the service owner. Service owner does not have anything to do with the process. It's more about the service. For example, web application service, storage management service, email management service. This person is facing the customer. They usually talk to the customer about the requirements. They ensure that the service is running fine. They represent the service in the major meetings. If there are issues going on with the service, they need to inform the customer, communicate to them. They should also represent the meetings in which changes to the services are being reviewed. So change meetings, CAB meetings, change advisory board meetings and all, service owner will need to attend. So they represent the service. They are usually coming from more like a business relationship side and service side rather than from the process side.
Marketing, customer relationship, that kind of a role. Right?
Yes. But then they need to have a good understanding of technology and service also, because this is about ITIL service. So they need to definitely know about the IT services. Yeah. So we'll learn more about the business relationship management and all, which is coming up. So let me write it down. Unfortunately, we don't have. In fact, the Invensis training material is extremely good, but because ITIL is such a vast subject, even at the foundation level, we cannot have all the slides. So trainers have to explain that.
Yeah, it's already 350 plus slides.
Yes, we will be able to move faster afterwards. In the beginning, because of concepts, it takes time. Afterwards, it goes well. Because I always want to ensure that the concepts are thorough, then everything comes easily.
Yeah, exactly.
Owns the service improvements, not the process improvement. Okay. And lastly, the service owner can definitely provide input for process improvement, etc., but that is not their main role. The service owner also does not do small things like updating database with issue details and all. They will give it to the junior people, right? So that's Because when you get that multiple options, then you need to be careful. Service owner represents the service to the business. Service owner updates the issue records for technical issues. Then you should not pick up that option. Okay, RASI model or Reiki matrix. Either one is okay. RASI, Reiki. 4 things here. This is a very good way to assign responsibilities and have some clarity on that. Particularly, it works between with the suppliers. You know, you third party, I am the original, and you are my third party. So we in the real world. So RASI is very good. Responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. There is an example here. For example, logging a service request. Let's say this is a step. The user will be responsible, meaning the user will log the request. Responsible means the person who is going to do it, who's going to do this activity. And the user who will be informed about this request from the customer, the system administrator will be informed, I for informed. The user will be consulted regarding this request. We may ask the user, okay, tell me exactly what you want, right? Consulted. And no ownership is there. Accountability is usually ownership. Yes, so you see all the 4 are coming here. Service desk will own it. They are the ones who are ensuring that the user's request is fulfilled in a timely manner. Usually this is very rare, all the 4 coming in one box. This is a better one maybe. So service desk is going to do this work, verification of the access level, right? User has no role here. They will be only be consulted here. Administrator will be informed about it so that they can provide the access maybe. No, service desk is providing the access. HR is also informed. Security manager is consulted, but look at who is accountable. The IT security manager is accountable for this activity or this process. So accountability always one person. Responsible there can be many, consulted there can be several also, informed also several. Sometimes this matrix also has ambiguity because they will say no, you cannot consult this, consult me for this. No, I don't want me to be informed here, it is too much information. So sometimes those issues also happen, but overall it is pretty good.
So the previous slide, this is for when there is a service request, right? When there is an incident or a service request or a issue raised,
yeah,
then from there onwards, that's how the steps will take place, and the respective parties that will be involved and to what level they will be involved.
Yes, somewhat. And by the way, these are just examples. What you see, these 4 things, these are just examples. You can use this. You can use this RASI matrix or Reiki matrix for any kind of sharing of responsibilities and accountabilities, splitting of that. This is just an example. For example, on the left side, you can have a single line known as incident management, or you can have a entry known as update the database records. It just gives clarity on who is going to do what. So what you see here, these are not the actual processes of ITIL or activity. These are just samples. Yeah?
Okay. Of course, it can be applied to any situation.
It can be, yes.
The service manager.
Yes, in fact, you can do it for even non-IT. Even somebody is going to create a presentation, another person owns the presentation. There also you can use it. So that's how it is. And functions is a different concept, so differentiate between the process on one hand, functions on the other hand. Function is a group of people who are skilled enough, who have a certain competency and knowledge. They can take up, for example, service desk function, what else, HR function, marketing function, right? When it becomes a large group of people, it is usually known as a department. If it becomes even bigger, it's known as a division or a geography, finally organization. But functions are a group of people who can do some work, who are competent in that area. So, and therefore, we have 4 functions defined in ITIL in the framework: service desk function, application management function, technical management function, and IT operations management functions. We are going to study this in more detail tomorrow. We're going to spend about maybe 20 minutes on this topic tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, we will surely do that. Right now, just imagine that the service desk function may be doing one or more processes of ITIL. Application management may be doing one or more processes of ITIL. And same here also. Here also. Together, when we combine all these four functions, they are doing all the ITIL processes and activities. Therefore, as I said, one group of people is doing several processes. It can also be that you need two departments, two groups of people to do one process. So together we need a service desk and technical management to take care of just one process. That's also possible. We need application management, operations management and technical management to take care of another process. I'll put as PS process. So a single process can be cut across multiple departments or multiple functions. Say for example, incident management process. For incident management process, we need the service desk to log the incident, etc., to record it. We need technical management people to help to resolve the incident. Yeah. Maybe these people will not come. We might need operations management in case it's a simple incident. If it's a complex incident, we will need technical management. Technical management are more subject matter experts. Application management are subject matter experts for applications, whereas this is for technology and IT infrastructure. This is more like the help desk. Take the user request and manage incidents. These are the two main things they do. Handling user requests and whereas operations management.
We do have this structure.
You have?
Sorry, we do have this structure in the company. Actually, we do have a global service desk. And we do have the application team who owns the applications, and there is an infrastructure team separately. And so we actually represent, I actually represent the operation team. So the functional and the operation is more or less the same role in the company. So out of these four, I belong to the IT operations management.
Oh, yes, okay. And the IT operations management does some day-to-day tasks. Now companies, it is up to the, it's good that you explained that to me. Thank you, Lakshmanan. And Lakshmanan. And this one, sorry, I have to say your name properly, Lakshman. Yes. So these two, it depends on the company, they may want to put more complex activities here, and or they may keep some complex activities on this side also and more simpler activities this side. So sometimes they may keep level 3 here, they may keep level 2, level 1 here, right? Usually we'll see level 0 here. So it all depends. Level 1 can be here. We can do level 2, level 1 here. Here it can be sometimes level 2 also, but usually level 3, level 4 kind of things are coming here. So ITIL doesn't say exactly, it explains the meanings of all this, but it says that it is up to the organization to decide what is done where. And secondly, application management, apart from that, is application development, which is outside of ITIL. The programming techniques and all, these are separate from the application management. So these are these people who know the functionality of the application, who can understand the customer's language of the requirements, and they help the improvement of the application, manage and maintain and support the application. But development is done outside of it. Yeah? Technical management comes in the incident resolution and doing the IT planning, design and all that. They do that. Service desk comes for two things mainly: request fulfillment for the user request, and secondly the incident management process, these two. Problem management usually done by technical management people, but it requires more analysis. Operations management do the monitoring, the various monitoring services, command centers and NOCs. Data center management is done here, facilities management, etc. Consolidation of data centers, taking backups, maintaining peripherals, managing the jobs, the mainframe jobs and all that. Those things are done here by the operations management. So there's a little bit of basics there. This is just a general slide about risk management. We are going to talk about risk management in information security management and IT service continuity management, which is sometimes known as business continuity, right? So that one also it will come. And what else? Yeah, so we're going to touch upon the risk management aspects in those two processes. But risk management is a different concept. At the intermediate level, there is more information about it. It is about identifying the risks, managing them, creating action plans for mitigation, etc. Right? All that comes. Doing the assessment of the threats and vulnerabilities, and putting into place certain backups and redundancies like extra storage, alternate network links and all that. Yeah? And application clustering and those complex technologies come, we will not get into that. Mirroring of data, the RAID system, controller, storage mirroring and all that, disk arrays, all that comes into risk management from a technical perspective. But this is a management process to identify and assess the risks, manage and monitor them. This is also a very high level slide, governance. Similar to traffic governance where the traffic rules are there and the cops or the police is monitoring the traffic and penalizing those who violate. Similarly, in IT, it is about creating the IT policies and ensuring the policies are complied with, like security policies, for example. And those who are not following it, they need to be trained and all that. So that's known as a governance. So company governance versus IT governance, there will be linkages. So when you look at the COBIT, the training, the COBIT is more about control objectives in IT. It talks more about governance. So COBIT is offered by another organization known as ISACA, ISACA. Okay, so now it comes to the main thing about the service life cycle. I think in the beginning I was telling you a little bit. I'm going to cover a couple more slides and then break after that. The life cycle is more about initiating. Look at, for example, how companies start thinking about IT. Usually, the customer comes and says, hey, good to meet you. By the way, you said that your company is into service offerings. What kind of offerings do you deliver? So the talk begins like that. And this IT company would say that, yeah, we are, providing cloud management services, application maintenance services. We can give you a good price for that, and we have good references and all, etc. So that's when the discussion starts. So the entire service has to be built first based on the customer requirements. And afterwards, once the service has been strategized and then designed, then we start operating it. So the initial part of the strategy and designing it should be solid, and then only the operations people will have, will be able to deliver it properly. Otherwise, there'll be too many issues in operations. And at some point of time, there'll be end of life. For example, Microsoft always creates new Windows software and the older ones are becoming out of life. That's known as decommissioning, when there is no more value from that service or no more profit. By the way, both customer and service provider both want to make profit, right? So that's important there. So both of them will negotiate their contracts. Yes. Just one thing about the service, the customer to the IT service provider. So this is true. Customer passes on the risks and cost of the service to the IT service provider. Something I just remembered. So these are the 5: service strategy, service design, service transition, service operation, and continual service improvement. You can actually look at this one. So service strategy, it's like, let's say you are a service provider and you want to deliver some services to customers. Customer may be not just one, there could be several. You want to establish yourself as a good service provider in the market. So the service strategy is more about that, how to think, how to strategize, what will be the cost of this, what will be the profit, how do I manage the relationship with the customer, how to get the very high level requirements, not the detail, very high level requirements from the customer. What kind of services should be presented to the customer? What should be on the menu card of services? What is the right mix of services? What kind of a suite of or portfolio of services should be shown? What kind of system should be established for customer satisfaction and to get repeat customers? How do we get the money for the services? Because even to set up a service, we need money or funding. How will we do the invoicing and budgeting and charging and all that? So these are some of the things to be thought about in the beginning. Understanding the opportunities and trends in the market, technology improvements in the market, understanding what the customer is thinking, and going back and talking their language. So these are some of the key things about service strategy. Yeah? So once this is done, then only we go to design afterwards. Yeah. So I hope that gave you a bit of an insight into service strategy.
Yes.
Next is design. Once the strategy is ready, of course strategy can keep changing, but usually strategy changes do not happen frequently because strategy word means it's a more medium term or long term, whereas operation is very short term. Tactical is also medium or short term. So that reminds me one more word to be written down. Strategy, tactics, operations. Tactics is about processes. Operations is about steps. Strategy is about thinking. Yes. And customer and business mean the same in ITIL. Sometimes I will use either word. Both of them are the same. Okay, design. So assuming that we have a strategy and also you have captured some of the high level requirements about the service. What do we do now? By the way, in strategy, we not only look at what to be delivered now, but also future. What is the future pipeline? What services have to be decommissioned? All this can be thought about in the strategy part. But in design, we will look at how to design all this, how to remove a service, how to add a service, how to maintain a service, what are the reports to be designed, what are the metrics, what are the tools and technology required, what kind of database systems are required, what architectures are required, right? What processes are required, what is the detailed budget for all the processes, not the high level budget. The high level budget and funding will come from the strategy, but detailed line items for cost will come through during the design. Okay, so then we have to match the detailed cost with the high level cost and come to some kind of understanding. This is where in design the service level agreement is also signed and negotiated, documented, reviewed, signed. There are some operational activities also in design. For example, monitoring the service levels, performance, maintaining the documents and contracts. All that also is coming under the design. Okay, the creating the policies for information security, creating the availability plan document, capacity planning document. These are all known as service design aspects. Now that the design is done, it goes into transition. Transition means putting it on the floor into production. No operations have started yet. It is about preparing for going live. Okay? Transition means going live. So knowledge transfer, looking at the design document and then saying, okay, design says that we need 20 people for this service. We need 100 systems for this service. Let's start procuring them. Let's start installing them. Let's start testing them. Let's reuse some of the best practices. Let's do some project management and coordination here and set it up. That is known as service transition. Yeah? Transition need not be always like this, even in an established environment. If there is a small change required, for example, rebooting the application, and for that we need a permission, that is known as change management. So change management is part of transition. Release and deployment management is part of transition. Knowledge management is part of transition because of knowledge transfer and all those things. Right? Maintaining the data about the assets. How many systems do we have? How are they connected with each other? That is also done in service transition. Continuous, Therefore, some of the transition processes are not happening only during transition, but throughout the life cycle. There are a few processes which happen throughout the life cycle. We're going to understand that afterwards. For example, maintaining the information about the hardware and software, etc. Throughout the life cycle it is done. Knowledge management, maintaining the knowledge and information, it is done throughout the life cycle, from the beginning till the end. So transition gives confidence to the customer that, yeah, this is going to work when we go live. Transition is also setting the expectation to the customer. We tell the customer, hey, we are going to transition now as per the design. This is what you are going to get. Once it is going live, please sign off. After sign off, don't say that you did not get this, you did not get that, because that's the expectation we are setting at the time of the sign off. Operation is the daily work, sometimes they call it the thankless job, the daily grind, handling the day-to-day issues, the user request, and also improving it. There may be certain skills and the count of resources, head count and all mentioned in the design documents, but then that might get changed because of issues or because of increasing fluctuating workloads. So it is about doing the work on a day-to-day basis. Therefore, operation actually optimizes also. Optimize means given the number of inputs, how can we maximize the outputs? It's like a farmer. Two farmers, you give the same amount of land and seeds and fertilizer. One farmer might produce more. So operation is about how much can be produced with the same input. Same design you give to two groups, one of them may produce more with the same design. So that's what it is. So it includes monitoring, a little bit of level 2 operations, level 1 and all that, level 0, all that comes here. And nobody stops us from improving. It has to be continuous, continual. There's a slight difference between continual and continuous. Continuous can be reactive. When the issue occurs, okay, we will make an improvement. Whereas continual is proactive. Taking steps in advance, doing trend analysis, talking to the customer proactively in terms of what they want, applying quality control techniques proactively, Six Sigma and Lean and all those things which you would have also be doing, I think, in your company, or somebody might be doing. All those things come under continual service improvement. The improvement what we do for service issues, let's say, I remember one case where I was having a service issue with one customer. The customer was not so happy. So I told him, we will do a service improvement plan for you. So next 1 month we will have a set of actions. We will do one by one and make everything is okay. At the end of the month, everything was back to normal. So that's known as a service improvement plan. That is part of a normal operation. That is not continual service improvement. We are just fixing the set of issues. And that comes under service level management. To maintain the existing service level achievements, we will do service improvements. So it's more as a operations. Okay, so that was a high level view about these 5 aspects. So strategy is about aligning to the business and how to help them to achieve the outcomes. Therefore, creating the right mix of services, etc. Designing, always there should be alignment to the strategy. Alignment always moves from right to left. Okay. So now you see this big list of processes, and not to worry at all. We will do one by one. I will give you examples and try to make it interesting for you. At any point in time, if you think that it's not going on well, let me know. Or if you feel that it's too much for me, let's take a break, or can you clarify? I know you're also proactive. You're always asking good questions. So that's really good. So we're going to cover strategy. Out of these three are important for us at the foundation level. There are 2 more things mentioned. We are not going to cover this. This is an intermediate level process, but I'll talk a little bit about it. Demand management is somewhat in the middle. It's mentioned here. This also comes more in the intermediate level, but we are getting questions in the foundation also. So we're going to cover this also, demand management. I have a video on demand management. We will see that later on. Design has got a lot of things here. Overall coordination of the design. One second. Since we are talking this, if you look at this, business relationship management, service portfolio management, financial management, then demand. In the design, we see service level management, right? This is where all the service levels are negotiated, documented, agreed, monitored, reported, everything happens. Periodic reviews also happen, not just document only. Managing the capacity, managing the availability of the systems, managing the continuity during disasters. This is not normal issues, but only for disaster scenarios. They call it sometimes BCM, business continuity and all that. We need to differentiate between BCM and this one. BCM is only for the business continuity, whereas we are concerned only with IT service continuity. Okay. So watch out for those tricky questions in the exam, business versus IT. Information security, supplier management, service catalog management. There's a connection here, portfolio and catalog. The catalog is part of the portfolio. Catalog means only the live services which are currently live or active, whereas portfolio means we have not only a live, but also we have the future services to be planned and services which will be retired in the future. So 3 things make up the portfolio: future pipeline, live services and retired services or to be retired, whereas catalog is only the live services. Coordination is an overall one. Coordination makes sure that everything is designed properly, all the others, and coordination is about overall design effectiveness and robustness, verifying and validating it. Design coordination is not done by the subject matter experts. These are not technical people. They are more, project manager kind of people to make progress on the design, whereas the actual designers come from these areas. Then comes transition. So transition planning and support for bigger transitions, we will have this process. If it's a very small change or a small transition, we don't have to have this process. It can be just done in a easy manner. Change management is also a type of transition, but it's a small individual changes. When we have a large number of changes together, then we will have to trigger this release and deployment, the next one. When there are, let's say, 10 to 15 changes happening together, then release and deployment. If it's one simple change, just do this one. You don't need release and deployment for simple changes. If it's a really complex one, then we definitely need all the three together, right? We are not going to talk about service validation and testing. It is at the intermediate level. Change evaluation is also in intermediate level. Fortunately, not going to talk about that. Documenting all the assets is this one, service asset and configuration management. I'm going to call that as SACM just for convenience. Right? Updating the architecture records, the connections between the various IT systems. Whenever something changes, if a system is removed or added or an application change is done, all that need to be continuously recorded. So that is done by this process, SACM. Knowledge management, it is about helping to make decisions in IT by storing the knowledge which could be service knowledge about process details, etc. So we're going to learn that also. So these two will not be done. Okay, these three. Finally, operation. In operation, there are 4 processes. We talked about that earlier a little bit, but we will focus more on the these are functions, whereas these are processes. These 5 are processes. Event, this is monitoring, NOC, command centers, control centers. Incident management, one of the most important processes in ITIL. If this is established in the beginning, then ITIL is going on well in the company. This is one of the most important incident management process. Okay. Request, it gives a good perception to the customer that here everything is going on well. Somebody is taking care of the issues, right? Because strategy people, design people will go out, but only operations people will be left afterwards. It is the operations people who deliver value. The strategy does not deliver value, design does not deliver value, transition does not deliver actual value. This is all in theory. But only when the operations begin, the value delivery starts happening. So that's the importance of the service operation, though it might be a thankless job many times. Therefore, this is one of the important ones. Even service asset and configuration management is one of the processes which is usually established by companies because they want to have an inventory of all the IT assets. So they usually start off ITIL practice with these 2 processes. Giving access management, problems when the incidents are happening again and again, we need to do root cause analysis and have solutions for them. So that is known as problem management. Request, handling the user request, right? Like queries and questions and password resets, installing software, moving from one building to another. These can be handled by request fulfillment. These are usually handled by the service desk. Incident management also usually handled by the service desk.
Hope you guys found the session interesting. If you are interested to pursue your career in IT service management, Invensis Learning can help. At Invensis Learning, we offer instructor-led live online ITIL Foundation certification training, which is designed for working professionals. Get certified today and stand out from the rest of the crowd.
For more updates on trending technologies, subscribe to Invensis Learning YouTube channel. Also, if you have any queries, share them with us in the comments section.